Long before maps or borders, when the first peoples stepped onto this wild land 15,000 years ago, Oregon was already a masterpiece shaped by chaos. Ice Age floods had thundered through basalt walls, leaving behind the soaring cliffs of the Columbia River Gorge, their faces streaked with history. Volcanoes had awakened and then slept again, raising Smith Rock like a cathedral of stone. Sacred ground where generations gathered under the open sky. And along a coastline jagged and unforgiving, storms raged against cliffs where over 2,000 ships would one day meet their end. Here on that lonely headland, the Heceta Head Lighthouse rose, a single lantern burning against the Pacific's endless night. Step with me into these hidden places, into forests older than memory, dunes shaped by restless wind, and waters so deep they mirror the sky. This is Oregon, untamed, unseen, and alive in ways you've never imagined. The Oregon Dunes stretch along the central coast, forming one of the largest expanses of coastal dunes in North America. The sand originated from the erosion of inland mountains. Then rivers carried sediment to the coast, where it was picked up by wind and built into dunes over thousands of years. In more recent years, off-highway vehicle riding has become popular, and some parts of the dunes are now designated for motorized use. Perched at the Columbia River's mouth, Astoria holds the distinction as the oldest settlement west of the Rockies. Its name honors John Jacob Astor, whose fur trading venture established a short-lived outpost here in the early 19th century. The settlement's strategic location made it a hub for maritime activity, with salmon canneries later dominating the economy. A catastrophic fire in the early 20th century razed much of the wooden downtown, prompting reconstruction in brick and stone, exemplified by surviving Victorian homes with ornate gables and widows' walks. Astoria Megler Bridge, a steel truss structure spanning the Columbia, links the town to the northern shores. Completed in the 1960s, it is the longest continuous truss bridge in North America and replaced a ferry system that once carried cars across the river. Engineered with flexible joints to withstand seismic shifts and tidal forces, maintenance crews frequently repaint and repair its steel frame to prevent rust and structural wear. At its highest point, it provides clearance for ships heading up the Columbia to inland ports. Pilot Rock is a distinct volcanic formation recognized for its steep column shape, visible from great distances. The rock formed as magma hardened inside an ancient volcano, later exposed by erosion. The indigenous Takelma people referred to this formation with a name that meant stone standing up. Early settlers initially called it Boundary Mountain, But by 1841, during the United States exploring expedition Boong, the formation was renamed Emmons Peak after a naval officer with the expedition. Eventually, it became known as Pilot Rock because it served as a guidepost for pioneers traveling north from California on the Applegate Trail. The site attracts climbers drawn to its technical routes, requiring skill to navigate loose rock and sheer faces. Carved by Silver Creek's persistent flow, Silver Falls State Park is known for its chain of waterfalls along a forested canyon in the western Cascade foothills. The largest state park of Oregon features a trail system famously called the Trail of 10 Falls, several of which allow hikers to walk behind the falling water. These paths go under large rock overhangs where the water passes overhead, which are made possible due to the way lava cooled and cracked, allowing a hollowed-out space behind the flow. Before the park existed, the land was used by indigenous groups, including the Kalapuya and Molalla, who hunted and gathered in the region. They used trails through the forest to reach seasonal camps and followed the rivers for fishing. In the 1930s, the Civilian Conservation Corps shaped the park's infrastructure, carving the iconic trails and stone bridges that wind behind falls known today. The small city of Bend sits along the Deschutes River, with the Cascade Mountains defining its western horizon. The city's name traces back to a shallow river crossing used by pioneers, referred to as Farewell Bend by travelers parting ways with the river's curve. It serves as a gateway to mountain peaks, high desert terrain, and freshwater lakes. Historically, the city began as a logging town, with mills operated along the river, and railroads helped move lumber out of the area. For a time, Bend had one of the largest pine sawmills in the region. As timber operations slowed, tourism and outdoor sports became more central to the economy. The Deschutes River flows directly through town, as it once served as a source of power and irrigation. Its currents carve through volcanic rock, creating rapids used for kayaking and stand-up paddleboarding. A section near downtown was engineered into a whitewater park, where artificial waves draw enthusiasts year-round. In summer, sections of the river are filled with people floating downstream. It is also known for fly fishing, with trout and steelhead in different stretches. West of Bend, serene Tumalo Falls drops over a basalt ledge into a calm pool. While not very tall, the site once had a hydroelectric plant, though it was dismantled after changes in river use and is now a park area. Trumpeter swans frequent nearby wetlands and slow-moving river stretches. These birds are North America's largest native waterfowl, identifiable by their straight necks and low, resonant calls. Once hunted to near extinction, they rebounded through conservation. In Bend's colder months, they gather in small flocks, feeding on aquatic plants. Named for its elongated, sinuous shape rather than the presence of eels, Eel Lake stretches through a valley flanked by conifer forests. The lake is characterized by its calm waters, fishing, and accessible recreation. Unlike nearby coastal lakes influenced by tides, it stays fresh due to its location and inflow from natural springs and rainfall. Carved by the Snake River on Oregon's eastern border, Hell's Canyon is North America's deepest river gorge. The canyon is part of the larger Wallowa Mountains and Seven Devils Range, shaped by volcanic activity, glacial movement, and water erosion. Interestingly, the exposed layers of the canyon reveal some of the oldest rocks in the region. These included metamorphic and volcanic formations from deep below the Earth's surface. In the late 1800s, during the forced relocation efforts of the Nez Perce War, members of the Nez Perce tribe passed through parts of Hell's Canyon while fleeing U.S. forces. The rugged terrain both challenged and protected them, allowing for temporary refuge before further pursuit. Mount Hood National Forest spans a vast area of forested mountains in northwestern Oregon, surrounding the iconic Mount Hood volcano. It is known for its striking alpine landscapes and extensive outdoor recreation opportunities, anchored by Mount Hood itself, the highest peak in the state of Oregon. Indigenous groups traversed the area for seasonal resources, with trails later adapted by settlers into the Barlow Road, a perilous wagon route skirting the mountain's base. The forest's ecology shifts from dense fir stands to alpine meadows dotted with glacial silt pools. Located just a few miles south of Mount Hood, Trillium Lake is a reservoir created by a small dam at the headwaters of Mud Creek in the 1960s. It was named after the trillium wildflowers common in the area. Historically, the vicinity of Trillium Lake intersects with the old Barlow Road of the Oregon Trail, where pioneers once traversed a marshy meadow on their way west. Today, this lake has become famous for its calm waters that perfectly reflect Mount Hood's snowy peaks on clear days. Additionally, its shores are lined with remnants of submerged stumps from pre-flood logging. Little Crater Lake, a cold, spring-fed pool, formed when water dissolved softer rock beneath the clay, creating a deep, clear column. Its near-freezing temperatures deter swimming, but support rare diatoms that tint the water turquoise. Geologists consider the body of water a geological oddity, with early theories speculating it might have formed from a collapsed lava tube due to its near-vertical banks. It is accessible by a short, easy trail and features a viewing platform for visitors to admire this natural curiosity. Klamath Lake is one of the largest freshwater lakes in the Pacific Northwest, located in south-central Oregon. It is known for its role in irrigation, migratory bird habitats, and water disputes. The lake is shallow, surrounded by wetlands and volcanic hills, and it feeds into the river of the same name, which flows toward the Pacific Ocean. White pelicans dominate the lake's avian population. These birds, with wingspans exceeding 9 feet, migrate here to breed on rocky islands. Unlike their brown cousins, white pelicans fish cooperatively, herding prey into shallow bays with synchronized wing beats. Their pouches, capable of holding over 3 gallons of water, drain before swallowing the fish whole. The presence or absence of white pelicans is used as one indicator of lake health. If water levels drop too low or if fish populations fall due to oxygen depletion, the birds may skip breeding at the lake altogether. Stretching along a rugged coastline, Lincoln County is known for fishing, timber, coastal research, and small fishing communities. The county was named after Abraham Lincoln during a period when new counties were being established along the Pacific coast. The establishment of a reservation in the 1850s displaced Native American tribes who had lived there for generations, sparking resistance and later leading to dramatic changes in the landscape. Over time, loggers and fishermen exploited the region, leaving behind ghost towns where mills once hummed. Siletz Bay lies near the southern end of the county, where the Siletz River meets the Pacific Ocean. The bay is shallow, with shifting sandbars and mudflats that change with the tides. Once home to sawmills and a small port, most of the industrial activity has faded. Today, it is a protected estuary, with conservation efforts focused on restoring salt marshes, providing habitat for birds, and improving crabbing opportunities. Rising from basalt cliffs nearby, the Yaquina Head Lighthouse stands as Oregon's tallest lighthouse. Built to guide ships around dangerous reefs, it was constructed with bricks transported by sea and assembled on site. The light once burned whale oil, later replaced by other fuels, and now runs on modern systems. Its historic Fresnel lens still rotates on its original gears. Below, tide pools teem with anemones and ochre sea stars, while murrays nest on offshore rocks. Painted Hills is a remarkable geological site in the eastern section of the John Day fossil beds. Here, layers of claystone display striking bands of red, gold, black, pointan, and sant and tan caused by ancient shifts in climate and volcanic activity. These colors shift subtly with light and moisture, so the hills appear different throughout the day and across seasons. Early settlers considered the hills barren, but later scientific study revealed their importance, as fossils and sediments preserve detailed records of ancient ecosystems. Established as the state's capital, Salem sits along the Willamette River, its history rooted in early missions and trade routes. The name Salem was derived from the Hebrew word shalom, meaning peace, a nod to its origins as a mission site before it developed into a formal city. Early missionaries envisioned schools and religious centers, but Salem soon grew into a center of government. The Oregon state capitol dominates the cityscape with its distinctive Art Deco design and gold-covered statue known as the Oregon Pioneer. This building replaced two earlier capitols lost to fire, with the second blaze reportedly sparked by a cigarette. Inside, murals depict settler expansion and agriculture, sparking modern debates about whose histories are celebrated or silenced. The Capitol grounds feature open lawns, memorials, and gardens, often filled with public events, protests, and seasonal ceremonies. Perched where the Coquille River meets the Pacific, the coastal town of Bandon is defined by windswept shores and rugged sea stacks. Its name honors Irish peer Lord Bandon, whose title inspired settler George Bennett to rename the area in the late 1800s. Bandon Beach is famous for dramatic rock formations, where shifting tides reveal tide pools and driftwood carried in by storms. Just north of the beach, the Coquille River's mouth flows into the ocean, its channels changing over time due to sediment buildup. Jetties were built to control the flow and aid navigation. A historic swing bridge, manually operated until the mid-20th century, still spans the river's upper reaches. The Coquille River Lighthouse, built to guide ships safely through shifting sandbars, stands as a sentinel on a basalt point. Though automated decades ago, its original Fresnel lens has been preserved and displayed, while nearby rocks still show pockmarks from Wubba-Wutu practice shelling. Occupying a windswept headland on Oregon's westernmost point, Cape Blanco was named by early European explorers for its chalky limestone bluffs. Indigenous tribes like the Tolowa and Coquille gathered shellfish and hunted in this area, leaving behind ancient middens still visible in eroded dunes. In the settlement era, the headland became part of coastal travel routes, though harsh weather and thin soil challenged farmers and ranchers. Rising above it all, the Cape Blanco Lighthouse is the oldest continuously operating lighthouse on the Oregon coast. Built to warn ships about dangerous reefs and sudden storms, it stands where currents and wind can change in moments. Its signal has long been a vital guide for mariners braving the foggy, rugged shoreline. Rising just offshore from the beach in Nescoin, Proposal Rock stands as a sea stack draped in evergreen trees, creating a dramatic silhouette against the open ocean. At low tide, you can walk across the sand to its base, but high tide transforms it into an island cut off by water. Local legend says it earned its name when a sailor knelt there to propose to his beloved. The rock remains a beloved landmark, a place where tides, romance, and rugged coastal beauty meet. Spanning central Oregon, the Deschutes National Forest is defined by old lava flows, dense pine stands, and snow-covered volcanic peaks. Generations of indigenous people, including the northern Paiute, once crossed these lands for obsidian and seasonal hunting, leaving traces of campsites and trails. Within the forest, Sparks Lake spreads wide beneath the shadow of South Sister and Broken Top. It was created by lava that dammed a valley, and now snowmelt feeds its waters, which seep quietly through porous rock rather than flowing out. In summer, kayaks skim its mirror-like surface, and anglers cast lines into its cold shallows. Nearby, Tumalo Falls drops in a white ribbon over a basalt cliff, its spray catching light as it cascades into a pool. Climbers and ice adventurers return in winter to scale the frozen waterfall, while summer hikers continue upstream to smaller falls and forested cascades. Beyond, Mount Bachelor rises, a winter playground of ski runs and alpine trails that draw outdoor enthusiasts from around the world. Where cataclysmic ice age floods carved through layers of basalt, the Columbia River Gorge unfurls, a canyon of sweeping cliffs, forested ledges, and waterfalls plunging straight into the river. La Tourelle Falls is one of its most dramatic sights, a single column of water dropping against a basalt wall streaked with yellow lichen. Crown Point juts high above the gorge, crowned by the stone Vista House. Built in the early 20th century as a rest stop and observatory, its Art Nouveau windows frame endless views of the river's winding course. Farther along, Multnomah Falls cascades in two tiers, a thin footbridge suspended between the upper and lower drops. Fed by underground springs and snowmelt, its waters flow year-round, feeding mosses and ferns clinging to the steep walls. Cannon Beach is a stretch of wide, windswept shore where Haystack Rock rises from the surf, a basalt monolith alive with nesting seabirds. At low tide, pools around its base reveal starfish, anemones, and crabs, each tide pool a tiny world. The beach owes its name to a cannon washed ashore from a wrecked Navy schooner in the 1800s. Centuries before that, members of the Lewis and Clark expedition trekked here to gather blubber from a stranded whale, marking one of the earliest recorded encounters between explorers and this rugged coast. Today, visitors still wander the firm sand, watching cold Pacific waves crash against the rock. Inland, rolling hills burst into unexpected color each spring as purple vetch blankets their slopes. Though not native, this hardy plant was introduced to improve soil and control erosion, fixing nitrogen and revitalizing fields worn thin by farming. Over time, its aggressive growth spread, mingling with native grasses and wildflowers. Now, when the blooms arrive, entire hillsides shimmer with a violet haze, a living tapestry under Oregon's shifting skies. Perched along the Willamette River, Oregon City marks the end of the historic Oregon Trail. It became the first incorporated city west of the Rocky Mountains, a vital stop where weary travelers turned settlers, building homes and businesses in the shadow of Willamette Falls. These horseshoe-shaped basalt falls are the second largest in the Pacific Northwest by volume, their churning waters powering early sawmills and later paper mills. Water wheels and hydroelectric generators turned the river's energy into growth, lighting homes and fueling industry. Here, the first newspaper west of the Rockies rolled off its presses, advocating for progress and statehood. Today, as plans unfold to restore riverfront access and honor indigenous heritage, Willamette Falls remains a powerful symbol of Oregon's past and future. Rising abruptly from the high desert, Smith Rock is a cathedral of volcanic tuff and basalt. Its jagged spires and sheer walls reveal the violent eruptions that shaped this region, while trails weave through sagebrush to breathtaking viewpoints. To indigenous tribes, these cliffs were sacred. To modern climbers, they are a proving ground. Smith Rock is often called the birthplace of modern sport climbing in America, with more than 2,000 routes etched into its rugged face. On any given day, you might see climbers clinging to overhangs or resting in the shadow of Monkey Face, a freestanding pinnacle sculpted by time. Deep in the Cascades lies Crater Lake, a sapphire pool cradled in the caldera of Mount Mazama. After the mountain's explosive collapse, snow and rain filled the basin, creating one of the clearest and deepest lakes in the world. No rivers flow in or out. Its level is balanced solely by precipitation and evaporation. Wizard Island rises from its center, a cinder cone hinting at volcanic forces still asleep beneath the surface. Lightning often strikes the rim, sparking fires that are carefully watched. Trails along the crater's edge lead to sweeping viewpoints, while a steep path descends to the shore where boat tours depart into the blue depths. Even in summer, the water remains shockingly cold, a reminder of its high-elevation home. Where the forest meets the sea, Cape Perpetua thrusts into the Pacific, its volcanic rock carved by relentless waves. Here lies Thor's Well, a gaping hole in the basalt that seems to drain the ocean itself. During high tide or storms, water surges in and out, exploding in dramatic sprays before retreating into the darkness below. Though only about 20 feet deep, the well's appearance is mesmerizing and dangerous. Visitors who stray too close risk being swept away by sudden waves. For thousands of years, indigenous people gathered shellfish here, living in rhythm with the tides that still sculpt this coast. Stretching across the western Cascades, the Willamette National Forest is a lush world of fir and hemlock, lava fields, and tumbling rivers. Proxy Falls fans out over a mossy cliff, its waters vanishing into a hidden lava tube below. The Mackenzie River races through ancient rock, feeding pools and rapids where trout and salmon thrive. Along its course, Sahali Falls plunges in a thundering white curtain, while downstream Coosa Falls crashes into a deep turquoise pool. Trails wind beneath old-growth canopies, where roots twist around black volcanic stone and light filters through emerald leaves, carrying the cool scent of water and earth. Tucked within the Umpqua National Forest, Whitehorse Falls is a serene curtain of water spilling over dark volcanic rock. It's not a towering waterfall, but its charm lies in the calm pool below, surrounded by mossy boulders and tall evergreens. In summer, the flow narrows to a silky ribbon, revealing orange-red streaks from iron deposits on the cliff face. In winter, rains and snowmelt swell the creek into a stronger cascade, its steady roar audible from the short path leading in. This quiet corner of the forest feels timeless, as if untouched since the first people wandered through these woods. Near the southern border, the town of Brookings hugs a coastline softened by mild weather and ocean mists. Chetco Point Park juts out into the Pacific, a rocky headland with sweeping views of shifting tides and distant sea stacks. Tide pools brim with anemones and crabs, while seabirds glide overhead. The park sits on ground once devoted to industry, shipping and lumber operations, but now serves as a public space where families picnic and wander the bluff trails. From this point, you can watch the mouth of the Chetco River meet the ocean, a meeting of fresh and salt waters that has guided mariners for generations. In the high desert, Fort Rock rises like a massive stone crown from the flat expanse, formed when magma met an ancient lake bed and exploded into ash. The ring-shaped tuff was later sculpted by wind and water into sheer cliffs. Early peoples sought shelter in its shadows, leaving behind stone tools and artifacts that speak to life on these dry plains thousands of years ago. Today, as you stand within the crater walls and look out across the sagebrush, it's easy to imagine the vastness and solitude they once knew. South in the Rogue Valley, Ashland blossoms as a cultural heart amid rolling vineyards and orchards. Founded in the gold rush, the town's spirit shifted from mining to art, culminating in the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, months of performances in indoor and open-air theaters, where classics and modern works come alive beneath starry nights. Beyond the stage, Emigrant Lake sprawls between hills, its waters feeding a rare inland wave pool and revealing traces of pioneer life when drought draws the shoreline back. The valley's rivers invite rafters and anglers, while its mild climate nurtures orchards that scent the air with blossoms each spring. Where the Willamette meets the Columbia, Portland grew from a rough frontier crossing into a bustling city. Its early economy thrived on timber floated downstream and goods shipped to the sea. Railroads arrived, and shipyards filled with workers and sparks. By the early 1900s, Portland had become a gateway between inland towns and the Pacific coast. Bridges stitched neighborhoods together, and its working-class roots fostered a lively, gritty culture. Today, Portland's streets hum with cafes, bookstores, and markets, but echoes of its river-driven past still shape its identity. In southwestern Oregon, the Rogue River winds through deep canyons and forests, carrying a history both turbulent and sacred. French trappers once called the native peoples here les coquins, the rogues, giving the river its name. Along its course lies Takelma Gorge, where the river tightens into a narrow chute, carving dark volcanic walls that rise steeply above churning water. In flood season, the gorge becomes a wild spectacle, with foaming rapids roaring between the stone corridors. Nearby, Mill Creek Falls cascades in two dramatic tiers, dropping into a misty amphitheater framed by old lava flows and jagged spires. Upstream, Lost Creek Lake, created by a dam, has become a centerpiece for boating and fishing, even as it continues to manage floods and irrigation. Here, the river is both a force of nature and a source of life, shaping the landscape and the people who've lived by its banks. Stretching between mountain ranges, the Willamette Valley is a fertile plain nourished by ancient floods and volcanic soil. Rolling vineyards drape its hillsides, their rows glowing green beneath soft evening light. This valley has become world-renowned for its Pinot Noir, crafted from grapes that ripen slowly in the mild, marine-influenced climate. In harvest season, you can see crews hand-picking clusters in the early mist, hauling them to rustic barns where the fruit is crushed, fermented, and aged in oak barrels. Many winemakers here honor sustainable methods, using falcons instead of nets to protect the grapes from hungry birds. The result is more than wine. It's a portrait of a landscape, bottled and shared. On the rugged Pacific coast, Heceta Head Lighthouse stands alone. Its white tower perched high above restless waves. Built in the late 19th century, the lighthouse was named for Spanish explorer Bruno de Heceta, who first charted these treacherous waters. Construction meant hauling materials by sea, fighting storms that sometimes stole entire shipments. For decades, keepers and their families lived here, braving isolation to keep the light burning through every night storm. Today, though automated, the lighthouse remains a beacon, one of the most powerful on the coast, casting its beam across dark waters and welcoming travelers with a sense of safety and history. From wind-sculpted deserts to emerald valleys, from roaring rivers to silent stone spires, Oregon is more than a map of landmarks. It is a living tapestry of earth and time. Each trail, each tide pool, each lantern's glow carries a story of those who came before and those who will wander next. This is Oregon, a land of hidden wonders and remarkable natural marvels. May its wild places linger in your memory like the whisper of pines and the salt of sea air.